The courtroom went completely silent when the young woman stood up and placed a worn-out photograph on the evidence table. Across from her sat the most powerful billionaire in the room, her own father. 15 years earlier, he had found her sleeping beneath a broken cardboard sign outside a Chicago train station, shivering beneath a winter sky. Now, with his billion-dollar company on the verge of collapse, every lawyer in the courtroom believed he had already lost. But the homeless girl he once rescued was about to reveal a secret that could save everything he had built. If you believe that kindness can change a life, that second chances matter, and that family is sometimes created by love rather than blood, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel for more heart-touching stories. 15 years earlier, Nathaniel Brooks had everything people thought a man needed. He was 38, successful, respected, and the founder of Brooks Meridian, a growing technology and logistics company based in Chicago, Illinois. But behind the expensive office, black cars, and carefully tailored suits was a grieving single father. His wife, Rebecca, had died from an illness 2 years after their son was born, leaving Nathaniel to raise his little boy alone. He worked relentlessly, partly because he wanted to provide for his child and partly because staying busy kept him from thinking about the empty chair at the dinner table. One freezing December evening, Nathaniel was leaving a late meeting when he noticed a small figure sitting near the entrance of the train station. She was perhaps 11 years old, wearing a jacket far too thin for the weather. Her shoes were soaked, her hands were red from the cold, and she was clutching a plastic grocery bag containing everything she owned. Most people walked past her. Nathaniel almost did too. But then he noticed something that stopped him. She was holding a school notebook and carefully writing numbers on the back of an old receipt. Her name was Abigail Carter. She had been living on the streets with an alcoholic father who disappeared one night and never returned. Her mother had died years earlier. Abigail had learned to survive by sleeping wherever she could find shelter and collecting discarded books from nearby trash bins. Despite everything, she still dreamed of going to school. Nathaniel took her to a shelter that night. But when he returned the next morning, he discovered Abigail had been placed on a waiting list and would likely be transferred somewhere far away. Something inside him refused to let the story end there. He contacted social services, completed countless interviews, opened his home to inspections, and spent months proving that he could give her a safe life. Eventually, after a long legal process, Nathaniel adopted Abigail. At first, neither of them knew how to become a family. Nathaniel was used to solving problems with money, schedules, and business plans. Abigail was used to expecting people to leave. She hid food in her bedroom. She became nervous whenever Nathaniel raised his voice, even when he was only frustrated about work. She apologized whenever she needed something. But slowly, the walls began to fall. Nathaniel enrolled her in a private school, but Abigail never became spoiled. She still remembered the nights when hunger had been her closest companion. She studied harder than everyone else. She discovered a talent for mathematics, economics, and law. Nathaniel often found her awake late at night reading business contracts she barely understood, determined to learn how his company worked. Over the years, Abigail became the daughter Nathaniel never knew he needed. She attended college on a full scholarship and eventually studied corporate law. Nathaniel was incredibly proud of her, although he never understood why she refused to join his company immediately after graduation. Abigail wanted to build her own reputation before stepping into her father's enormous shadow. Then, everything changed. 15 years after Nathaniel had found her at the train station, Brooks Meridian was accused of committing massive financial fraud. A federal investigation claimed that millions of dollars had been secretly transferred through shell companies. The evidence appeared overwhelming. Several senior executives had turned against Nathaniel, and one of his oldest business partners, Victor Hale, testified that Nathaniel had personally approved the illegal transactions. The company's stock collapsed overnight. Banks demanded repayment. Investors panicked. Newspapers called Nathaniel a fraud. The empire he had spent decades building seemed destined to disappear. Nathaniel's attorneys prepared for the worst. Then Abigail walked into the courtroom. She had spent 3 nights reviewing thousands of pages of financial records. Something about the transactions had bothered her. The transfers were supposedly authorized by Nathaniel, but Abigail recognized a pattern. The digital signatures had been created during periods when Nathaniel had been physically somewhere else. She traced the transactions through multiple companies and discovered that the same financial consultant appeared behind every suspicious account.
Victor Hale.
Abigail didn't stop there. She found archived emails, security records, and an old backup server that contained deleted authorization logs. Together, they revealed the truth. Victor had secretly created a system that copied Nathaniel's digital signature and used it to move money into shell companies. He had planned to destroy Brooks Meridian, buy its collapsing shares cheaply, and take control of the empire. But Victor had made one mistake. Years earlier, Nathaniel had taught Abigail something simple: never trust a number without understanding the story behind it. Standing before the judge, Abigail calmly presented the evidence. She explained every transaction, every timestamp, every hidden account, and every false authorization. The courtroom slowly shifted from suspicion to disbelief. Victor's testimony collapsed under the evidence. The judge eventually dismissed the charges against Nathaniel and ordered an investigation into Victor and his associates. Brooks Meridian survived, but Nathaniel barely cared about the company. When he walked outside the courthouse, cameras surrounded him. Reporters shouted questions about the billions that had nearly vanished. Nathaniel ignored them all. His eyes were searching for only one person. Abigail was standing beside the courthouse steps. Nathaniel walked toward her and held her tightly. For the first time in years, the billionaire who had faced investors, politicians, competitors, and financial crises without fear began to cry. He told Abigail that 15 years earlier, he thought he had rescued a homeless girl. But the truth was that she had rescued him too. She had given him something money could never buy: a reason to come home, a reason to keep going, and a daughter who proved that the greatest investment a person can make is believing in someone when nobody else does. Brooks Meridian eventually recovered. Nathaniel remained its chairman, but he changed the company permanently. He created a foundation that provided housing, education, and legal support for homeless children across America. Abigail became the foundation's director, determined to give other children the chance she had once received. Years later, whenever someone asked Nathaniel about the greatest decision of his life, he never mentioned the company, the billions, or the empire. He simply showed them an old photograph. It was a picture of a frightened 11-year-old girl sitting outside a Chicago train station, holding a plastic bag and an old notebook. And beneath the photograph was a handwritten sentence: "The night I thought I was saving her was actually the night she saved me." If this story touched your heart, please like the video, share it with someone who believes in second chances, and subscribe for more stories about kindness, family, courage, and hope. And before you leave, comment "Kindness changes lives" if you believe one small act of compassion can change someone's entire future. Because sometimes, the person you stop to help today may become the person who saves you tomorrow. If you'd like, I can also create a high CTR YouTube title, description, tags, hashtags, thumbnail text, and image generation prompt for this story.